Okay, what did you say, sir? Somebody walks in who looks like they're more than Jason.
So what?
So if somebody walks in who looks like they're more than
Yeah, so.
Would you like our
But I have an email message into, I don't know. I can't tell because in the CBA it just says the first 6 months. It doesn't like qualify a certain period as being part of it.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I know it's starting to be like.
Luckily, I went to no, I gotta start doing that. I thought about it today when I had it. Luckily, I went over and
Let's see that. But I can adjust. I'll just adjust the sound.
Yeah, you won't hear it until
Is there a place to adjust the sound up here? You have to turn it all up. I'm not talking.
Did your sunflowers get in?
Yeah, it's terrible.
They survived the whole summer.
I'm sorry.
Well, it'd be nice if we had cameras there because we could.
Okay, do you want me to wait for Ron or can I just go ahead?
Do you remember John Triola would sit there and wait till the seconds counted down and be like, oh, shit. I know, right? We could be like CBS 60 Minutes.
We could be rather just like a few
That's all right. I got
seconds
it. We make her go last.
Okay.
That's what
That's what I said when I saw it.
That's not what I was saying.
Yeah, it's this morning.
Is that what you guys did this morning?
Yeah.
You could do that live.
Like they got in there this morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. Sorry. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. And Mr. Elliott, will you lead us in the pledge?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick reminder to turn off your cell phone if you haven't already done it. Does anybody plan to make a public comment on a non-agenda? Okay. Do you have any board comments about something?
Maybe a minor thing, behind Cherry Valley, I've seen kids climbing over that fence, climbing up those sheds and then over the fence. I watched one kid, he was kind of a bigger kid, and he struggled, back and forth buddies are already in. I don't know what we're gonna do different.
I think might be the people that we were talking about. There was some vandalism going on. Was one carrying a baseball bat by chance?
I didn't see a baseball bat.
Yeah. So all of the sheds too. We need to back those off there so they're not using those as. Yeah,
They use the sheds to climb over.
Yeah. Good point.
Anybody else? Any public comments? Any guys are so sorry. Okay, approval of August 20th, 2018 regular board meeting minutes. Any questions, comments, corrections? Okay, none? I'd entertain the motion.
I move that we accept the meeting minutes as submitted.
A second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, August 28th, special board meeting minutes. Any questions, comments, corrections? Comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Nutrition, Wilson Scholarship and Education Foundation. I don't think they're here. Superintendent's report, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll run through this briefly here. For the recognition part, I had the privilege to speak at Chamber the other day, and stated that there are 3 people that actually 2 people recognized there, and also for the board. The PCEA and PEA Employees of the Year were recognized at the startup when we were at on the 27th of this month in the auditorium. For the PCEA, the Employee of the Year was Katie Kwan, who recognized her and commend her. And then also for the PC, or the Folsom Education Association, is Ms. Roxanne Hopencotter. Both of those deserving individuals, well deserved. Then the other one is we had our Run Lock Fight training, which is the portions, the first 2 days of school, and then we had that. I talked to you about the reflex defense. It's the gel spray. Levi Reed, which was an SRO for Rodan for a few years, and then did some undercover work, and now he's a lieutenant. But he's been hit with about everything, and he wanted to be. If he was going to endorse a chemical, he wanted to be hit with it. So he got hit with it. And I absolutely, he took one for the team literally and got a face full of pepper spray. And I was standing next to about 5 officers, and they said before it took place, like, Levi is going to walk through anything. And this guy is tough as nails. We were a little bit afraid that he was just going to eat it like ice cream and just walk right through it. 2.5 seconds, and his words were, "Dude!" He hit the floor, and he was out of commission. And so, not everyone wants to. And I'll tell myself, I said, if Levi will do on the first Wednesday, I thought I would do it, or Dan Giles, I thought we would do it for the next Wednesday. After I watched it, there's no way I'll put a piece of that action. And nor does anyone else after watching it. And so it was telling.
Did he say?
Yeah, I have it. So they're putting it together right now. There's some professionals that came in video. Actually, we got some non-professional footage of it too. I will show it to you once I get the cut version of it. Anyway, so those 3 people, Employees of the Year, and then Levi, for just, he does all of our protocols, right? And so he wants to know what it looked like or what it felt like. And he's a believer.
Did he say how it compared to like Maze or some of that other stuff?
Worst ever.
Oh, okay.
Worst ever.
I'm pretty sure it's common tear gas
CS gas, right? That's what
It
the
is.
sign says.
It's a tear gas spray.
There's so the whole science behind it, there's a company out of Lexington, maybe, Carl, or there's one company that makes the best CS gas.
Yeah, New Jersey.
That's where it's from, and so that's where they're getting their product from. This is, some CS gas comes in an aerosol or a spray, and it vaporizes out, and it'll evaporate a whole room. As Sheriff Bell had talked about, he watched it too. It was amazing what that stuff does. What this gel does is if you shoot at the target, it sticks on their face. It doesn't get everybody else around you. So in a school and hospital setting, that's not what you want, because then you end up having to shut down the facilities for 3 or 4 days and clean out your HVAC system. This, I was right next to the shooter as he was backing up. We didn't want him to trip on the court, so I was in the middle of the spray, and I tasted a little bit, but that's all. The other part of this spray, as we talked about before, the reason why we want the company is a couple of chemists out of Missoula built a detergent that once you start spraying that back in, it deteriorates the chemical. It breaks it down and pulls the heat out of it. And so we thought it'd be it took about 5 minutes for Levi to say that he could talk. And about 15 minutes later, he's able to get up and do a testimonial and say that stuff was amazing. But so think about a student, if we have an accidental and a bear spray or a pepper spray, a lot of times it takes 24 hours for that to dissipate off your skin. Take a shower, it gets worse. So now if we have an accidental spray, we have a detergent that we can take the heat out of the kid's face if we had to. Not that I want an accident, right? There is that piece to it, and that is real particularly important for us and with a lot of students or a hospital setting similar. So anyway, those 3 people, all for different reasons, or one for different reasons, but I commend you for doing that. New business and the school startup. This will be a shorter one for me because I've asked all of my administrators, 6 of them, to give us a 5-minute snapshot of how the school year started for them. So that'll be the next portion here. I think that's agenda item 5. I spoke on Reflex Protect. We trained last Wednesday. We have another training for the middle school and the high school this coming Wednesday, and that'll start about 3 o'clock in the auditorium. Speaking of auditorium, part of the facilities is that the seat standards are to be in Tacoma on September 17th, the Port of Tacoma. And so as soon as they get through customs in a couple of days, they should be on site. So helpful that we're not going to be standing all year in that facility. On the other, Remind 101, so I have 100% of my board, 100% of my admin team. I have 164 parents, 131 staff members at this time. So roughly 700 parents. I'm not quite there yet, but it's a good start. And with the staff, over a couple hundred and 131. So that's that communication platform. As I spoke at Chamber. They gave me 10 minutes, and I think I went 30. And it's always fun to speak in front of that group and really engage afterwards with a lot of questions. They want to know about Linderman, they want to know about school safety, and they want to know about school startup. And so that's the 3 things that I addressed. New teacher day, just something that we started differently. We had the barbecue down here, so all mentors in the district were here, opposed to each one in their individual buildings. Started here, we had a barbecue, and then they went out to their own sites. So it went really well. And then lastly, Wade Nash, myself, will be speaking at a conference in Helena on the handle of care portion of what we do. So law enforcement, really, if you're not familiar with handle of care, Lady Frost was a counselor here the last couple of years, and she initiated a handle of care program. And that's when an officer or officers go into a home and something traumatic happens, such as arrest, that they have the ability to get our website and say that Chanel Lake had a traumatic experience last night in her home, and that's all that comes through. But it goes to the counselors and any one of her brothers or sisters that need the other buildings. So the counselor will get that, I get that, and we know that something happened there, right? We don't need to know particulars. Other cities want to do this, but they think that it's a violation of information. But really all it says is that she had a bad night. And now teachers can go in and go, okay, I know you had a really bad night last night. We don't have to get all that homework done or okay, if you need to go talk to somebody, but we just know that something happens big in their life. Pretty important program. The key to that factor is that law enforcement agencies have to log on and do it. And so we get them. I can't tell you if we get them all because I don't know when they happen. So we are going to speak to that in Helena in a couple weeks, that program. And there's a lot of agencies that are trying to do it, but their law enforcement teams in their communities don't want a part of it. So we're going to try to convince them it's a good idea.
So the question though, do we, since we've been doing this for, is it 2 years now?
Yeah.
Or if this is going to be, Libby did start it, is it 2 years?
Yeah.
So do we not keep, or does the police station not keep a percentage of happenings that involve children within our school to then verify if?
I don't know. I mean, unless I was to get to the logs and count all the occurrences, but I haven't done that. So we just get the ones that we get. And so I would think like any other agency, you probably got some officers that are really, really good at it, and some probably still get better at it. Yeah. It'd be nice to have them all, but it's something that we have to work with them to make sure that they're still able to get on and want to do it.
And another question, with the detergent that you were talking about, that they came up with, are we gonna have that on site with the gel and every, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have more than we anticipated. We're gonna have more detergent than we thought.
Just
I thought it was like a Windex, spray a couple shots in there and all good. No, it takes a lot. We found out that we're like, holy moly, there's a lot of squirting going on. Yeah. So it does take a little bit to deactivate it. So what we ordered, we were in our conversation with them this morning and saying we're going to want more of that.
So I just got a question.
How much do we have to fundraise to get you to do it?
Right there, man.
We're getting a little off topic, but it'd be a lot. But I did have that same thought when Mr. Wilson and I were administrators of high school. I was going to put a bucket, right, Mr. Wilson's bucket, Mr. Wilson's bucket. Whoever raises the most money was going to get tased.
Oh, God.
It's kind of that same principle, right? I was going to make sure that Mr. Wilson won. We just didn't get around to it. Sorry, that's all.
Okay, I just
all
got one question on the
Yeah.
handle with care. So we are currently doing that?
Yes.
And so like, who would contact you, like let's say if it was my kid or whatever? So they email you or they email like the principal, they email the, who do they?
A lot. So it goes to counselors.
Okay.
I don't know if, Chris, are you guys getting any of them?
We've gotten 2.
Yeah, we only had a couple this year.
Okay, I was just curious.
So and I get them as well. So I get the superintendent, she go to the counselors and the principal of the building.
And you would all get the same, like, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I had just a follow-up comment regarding the presentation Rex made at the chamber. I try to get to all those chamber meetings, and I will say categorically, the number of folks that attended the meeting where Rex presented was standing room only, which I think demonstrates just how much interest the business community has in what we're doing. There's definitely room, opportunity for us to interface more with the business community. They are very, very interested in all aspects of what we're doing. They're constantly looking for opportunities for, whether it's what we're planning for curriculum, for facilities, for opportunities to collaborate, opportunities for volunteerism, event sharing, you name it. And so, I mean, just like I said, the sheer number of people that were there wanted to talk to Rex afterward about all kinds of stuff. So, as you guys are moving forward and all the things that you're doing, thinking about those opportunities to interface with our business community, I think is really important.
It was well perceived, very positive.
Oh, absolutely.
Last in the report is Carter School right now is stating that we have 1,722 students. And I've been saying in the papers and on the radio the last 3 weeks, it's always 1,600. We're up a little bit. I think I told you that. Remember, there are phantom students in this, and we call phantom students as the ones that they were enrolled in our district last year, but they may not be in the seats this year. Our 10-day count's coming up, and after 10 days of absence in a row, then they get dropped. October 1st is our first A&B count, that's the money count. So we'll have better numbers as we roll through. I just wanted you to know that right now it's showing 1722, which is up from what we anticipated. That being said, right now Cherry Valley is about 275, Linderman's about 356 as this afternoon. Folsom Middle School 595, and the high school is about 496, roughly. Sound about, that's what our school is showing.
Wow. Thank you. Any other questions for Superintendent Boss? Any questions from the public? Okay, back to school reports.
We start out with, again, I was going to give every one of the school reports, and well, these guys know so much more intimately, and that turns the power over to them. So I'm going to start out with, we'll go from the bottom to the top. We'll go through Cherry Valley, the high school, and then special ed department, and then our curriculum instruction. I told them if they had 10 minutes each, that'd be over an hour of recording, so now they have 5. And we'll see how well they do. But like me, when I was at Chamber, I have 10 minutes and it takes me 25. There's so many great things going on, so it's a hard task. It is a hard task. But Rhonda would like to lead us off.
Okay, well, I will try to keep it under 5 minutes. Lots of great things are happening at Cherry Valley. We're off to a really great start. Rex talked a little bit about the increased security. We've had the active shooter training, and now we've had the Reflex X training. Some additional things we've done at Cherry Valley to up the security is everybody's wearing badges, and that's a district-wide thing. So all my staff are wearing badges. From my food service to my custodians, everybody wears badges. And which has been, I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from parents on that, because I see them looking and, oh, you're the principal, or they didn't even know who this strange lady was that was hanging out in front of the building. So that's been good. Also, we're open first thing in the morning for parents to drop their kids off, walk their kids to class, but after that 8:30 bell, I'm closing off the hallways, and parents have to check in. I'm really trying to keep the amount of just strange adults in the hallway down, which I've gotten great feedback from the teachers, because it's way less confusing. We would just have strange people in the hallways. We didn't know who they were. We assumed they were parents, but you just can't assume. So, but that's also been met very positively from the parents. We were wondering, would it be okay for us to just call your child down, have you wait in the lobby, and they're great. I just say we're kind of changing things to increase the security and the light. Thank you. So there is some increased security. We are full at Cherry Valley. We are just plumb full. It's an exciting place to be. Right now I have about 20 special needs preschoolers, 18 STARS preschoolers. I have 100. I have 132 kindergartners. 4 are not on the record yet, but we just enrolled 2 more, so we're waiting for that paperwork to come back. And then we know of some that are coming, we just don't have them in yet, which is a full kinder. It's 21, 22 kids in each class. We're about 110 in first grade, so it is full of little people in my building. But the teachers are incredibly wonderful and flexible. We're moving pairs around, trying to get that support in there for kindergarten. It's amazing to see 22 little kindergarten bodies. It was fun trying to get them all on the bus. We got them all on buses. So far, I think we all got them on the right buses. That's always the fun part. But yeah, I would love to just have you just come in. It's a fun place to be. One of our focuses and emphasis this year at Cherry Valley is we have really worked hard to become a trauma-informed school. A lot of our little ones are children of trauma, and we know how important that early intervention is. So we have totally changed our schedule to have soft starts. We've got second chance breakfasts. I've been working with Lindsay to provide second chance breakfast for our kids coming in. We have social emotional training happening in the classrooms with a Mind Up curriculum, which just teaches children self-awareness, that social emotional, what am I feeling, what do I do with what I'm feeling, the deep breathing, all those de-escalation techniques. We also have, just to create a different kind of environment, we're playing music now. So at the very beginning of the morning, you're going to come in, it's going to be some fun music, playing some happy music. We also have tons of staff out front greeting kids as they come in, checking in with kids as they come in. We do have a check-in and check-out system that's going into place with those little ones that we know are children with trauma or that are needy, which has been incredibly successful. We are working and collaborating with Project Launch to pilot a social emotional curriculum and assessment where we can do an assessment now, identify students that are social or emotionally not developed, and then we can provide intervention. So it's that early intervention piece we've been talking about. We already know some of the little ones that are going to give Peter trouble here in about 10 years. So we need to do something about that now. And so that's what we're working on to do. Along with that, I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook and around, but we have Stacey York coming in on the 19th. Stacey York's a nationally known speaker on childhood trauma and its effects on the developing brain. And she is in town for Tribal Ed on the 17th. Project Launch called us and asked us if we wanted a half-day training. So Rex was fabulous in letting us have a half a day for teachers and staff to go to this training. So it'll be Cherry Valley and Linderman, so thank you, Superintendent Wilkes, for that. So we're getting that rolling. Again, we've had some just positive feedback from parents. So that's kind of that social emotional piece. As part of that, we are doing, it's called an I Am Worth It campaign, where we're going to be giving kids challenges, and they're going to be meeting these challenges. And as part of this challenge, if you come into the building, you're going to see that our own Helen Seamers, renowned artist, is painting a mural on one of the front walls right there at Cherry Valley. We're going to have our very own Helen Seamers. It's going to be worth millions here, I know. But she plus a lot of the other teachers are all painting this beautiful mural. It's going to be cherry tree with cherry blossoms and children reaching for the stars. So anyway, it's in process. You're going to have to come see it. She's doing a beautiful job, but it's all part of that I Am Worth It campaign. Again, really focusing on meeting the social emotional needs of these little ones as they are moving up, that mental health piece. I think that's about it. Did I make it under 5 minutes? No. Ow, darn! Any questions? Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. Sounds very exciting.
Ms. Wilson.
Okay. You guys probably remember too, but last year I did a really terrible job. When this part came to me, I wasn't necessarily prepared. I don't know what happened, but it was terrible. I remember it. So this year I thought I'm not going to get up and talk at all. I'm just going to let some photos do the talking. I'll wait till it comes in. And I might have to adjust like the music, so if we get like blasted out, I'm going to be punching this as fast as I can. So we've had a really good start at Linderman, and for the most part, our beginning weeks are building relationships with kids, doing Teach Shoes, specifically teaching kids exactly what they need to do so they know expectations. Our Teach Shoes look like showing kids, actually asking kids to volunteer to show what's perfect, what's exactly right, and then actually showing them what is not right, what's almost there, and then they can kind of relate that to what they really need to be doing. So our Teach Shoes happen in every area of the school, and but combined with building relationships, really that's what the beginning of our school year looks like. The song's 3 minutes 53 seconds, so that's how long my presentation should be. It leaves 1 minute and 7 seconds for questions afterwards. Good volume.
If you feel bring me down. Can't never bring me down. I said, bring me down. Can't never bring me down. Love is good. Bring me down. Can't never bring me down. I said, come along if you feel like a woman out of the roof. Come along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come along if you feel like a woman out of the roof. Come along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't you? Bring me down, love is good. Bring me down, can't you? Bring me down, I said, come along if you feel like a woman out of the roof. Come along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come along if you feel like a woman out of the roof. Come along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
So, 3 minutes, 43 seconds. Any questions?
How is the cafeteria doing with gym?
It's, thank you for asking. It is, the time is tight. And kudos to Marvin, he is sweating. It looks like this. In the morning we have our breakfast in there, and we feed a lot of kids breakfast at our school, between 100 and 150. We have a lot of kids eat breakfast at Linderman. And generally the other half, the kiddos come in because, you know, we just, whenever kids get to school, they come into the cafeteria and they hang out, and then we have a morning recess. But until then, they kind of hang out in the cafeteria. So breakfast, we clear those kids out, that 8:10 bell rings, and then they take their breakfast to the classroom to finish so that Marvin can get it, like 8:10, 8:15. By 8:15, the kiddos are cleared out because realistically Marvin has to get the lunchroom set up and done by 8:20 when special starts. So he's in there setting up, and Mickey starts her class on one side. And our kids who come in late for breakfast, they just get their breakfast tray. We give them something for breakfast, even if they come in at 10. If they haven't eaten breakfast, you know, they go in and they get something. But and so then Mickey, then he gets it cleaned up, and then we have, you know, some PE classes in there, and then he comes in again. He has a time slot to clean it up for, and the lunch ladies set it up for lunch, and then we have a little bit of cleanup time after to clean it up for the specials in the end of the day. But it's working smooth, and one reason is that really everybody's pitching in. In the morning, I have secretaries in there, paraprofessionals, wiping down tables, getting them all set up. So it's working, yeah. But kudos to all my staff for really working hard. That's why it's smooth.
I'm glad you threw the couple of slides at the bottom where the music's being held. See the circle that we're all put in there. And that now is, if you want to find Linderman staff in a staff meeting, they're always there.
It's air conditioned, so it's literally, that's where we're having our staff meetings. It's so nice.
That's smart. It's usually right there.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions at all?
Questions or anything?
Thank you.
Big minor, Polson Middle School update.
Okay, so beginning of the year, Polson Middle School has started off extremely well. I think, though, it started actually last year, getting ready for this year. So several of the highlights, because there's a lot to talk about, and I do not have time to talk about everything that we've done, but the big things are, we have 4 new staff, all ACEs. We refuse to hire anybody who's not, and they're making a difference already in our school. This summer, many of our teachers came in and moved. 11 people moved, we were doing the math today, really 12, and 16 new people in different rooms. So that was a lot of work for our custodian staff, and they worked really hard this summer and they got it all done. We only lost a few chairs and a few things, but we got it done. We also had teachers building things for other teachers and creating spaces that were more middle school appropriate. We did change our schedule, as most of you know, which is working out very well. The kids picked up on it much quicker than the adults did, which was pretty funny, but they're doing really well now. I gotta look at my notes here. One of the things with the moving people around, we have all of the math in one area, all the language arts, all the social studies, and when you walk through the building now, you'll see them teaming together. And we know that good teachers can become great, and great teachers can become awesome and exceptional if they have that teaming time. And now they're all together, working together, creating that lesson plans, working on Rubicon, doing the stuff that they do together. So that's working out extremely well. One of the things that I want for middle school, and I know Rex does and the board does, is we want to create a middle school where everybody belongs. They feel like they belong, which means we've got to come a long way to create things for them. There's discussion going on right now about doing clubs and that kind of stuff to try to get activities for all kids. And that's a real fun, lively conversation that's going on right now. But one of the biggest things we've done, and the paper said it was my idea, and it wasn't, it was his idea, the WEB program that we brought in, which is Where Everyone Belongs, this is what WEB stands for, was a complete success at the beginning of the year. The kids, we got a group of our leadership kids basically together, and then they helped bring in all of those 6th graders coming in to help them learn the school. And really, it was funny was because the 6th graders knew the schedule better than the 8th graders did, but that's okay. But it was more about kindness is the new cool, and we're working extremely hard to make that a part of everything that we do. Let's see. One of the things I talked about with my teachers is we have got to really work on our customer service, that we serve the parents and the children of this community, and we really need to keep that in the front of our minds. How we work with them, what we do, putting ourselves out there. And they're working extremely hard to make sure that that happens. 5th grade, the other piece that we've done is supervision. We've changed a lot of how we do things so that we have better supervision. Number one, in the mornings, kids, I think we could start school at 8 o'clock. I mean, there's got to be 400 kids there at 8 o'clock. And there's a lot there at 7:30, 7:15. But what we're doing is we're saying right now, listen, guys, practice not coming to school so early. We're going to open the door at 7:45 while the weather's still nice. At 7:45, you go into the lunchroom, and we'll hold you there. We have persons there. I'm out front. We have staff out front. The kids come into the lunchroom. Our hallways are clear until we have staff there, because what was happening last year was there was kids all over the place and we couldn't watch them. So that's happening. It's actually working extremely well. The lunchroom, I have the teachers now all out at recess, every single one. 5th grade all the way up. And then we have our para staff is doing lunchroom duty along with Mr. Yarbrough and I. That we've had this year, last year I was trying to look today to figure out how many office referrals we've had by this time, which was a lot. And we've had 2 until the very end of the day today, and we got 2 more. So our supervision is doing very well. Also, at the end of the day, we tell kids, listen, you got to go home. The school's out, go home. If you're not riding the bus, go home. Check in with your parents. School's closed until 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, you want to come back, that's fine. But we're clearing off the playground. That's where we've had some issues in the past with kids hanging out, high school kids coming down. So now everybody's gone. And then at 4 o'clock, they start coming back. I watched them today do that. So that's changed. Communication, I had all my coaches doing Blooms, and they're trying to talk to the parents as much as they can to get that message out. It's very difficult. We also are trying to get our PAT group together. Miss Kylie and Sherry is leading our PAT, and if you don't know Kylie, it's going to be successful no matter what. And we're looking forward to another great conferences coming up with the student-led conferences. Last year we had 80 what?
86 or 89%.
86 or 89% of our student-led conferences last year, which is unheard of for middle school. And we're already starting conversations on that. So excellent beginning of the year. I'm at 5 right now. So any questions? Go.
So they leave after school, and I mean, obviously if they're in football or basketball, or they would stay.
Correct.
But why would they come back at 4?
We have a lot of
What's the point for coming back? I just was curious.
the playground, playing basketball. They like to come and play basketball, and that's great. We want them to do that. But what we had last year was a lot of people that were mingling in with our kids.
Yeah.
And so now they evacuate. I know who those kids are, and I want them to go home and let mom know where they're at.
No,
Kind
I
of
was just
thing.
curious, like, what would bring them back with it?
Yep.
I know it's a little premature, but Boys and Girls Club is going like gangbusters on their fundraising. Within the next, I would say in 2 years, they'll have that new
Across
facility.
the road.
And so that'll be a really nice opportunity for kids right after school to have, and they're gonna have a teen center. So there'll be a really nice opportunity for kids to have positive things to do after school.
Very good.
Yeah.
Might have to get an extra bus to hold them all to the.
Well, they'll walk and try to.
It's right across. But I mean, the little ones that come from Cherry Valley.
Yeah.
Because there is a pile that walk across that to this road.
There are some questions.
Yeah.
Am I out?
I know that's been minute.
The buses we changed as well too. Thanks, I think Mr. Welts came up and made some changes, and it's working out phenomenal. So they're just coming down, they're not stopping on top, and the high school students are coming down, and our kids are going up to the top, and then they're getting on and getting out much quicker. About 16, 17 minutes faster than they were in the past. Which is another thing, all that time waiting was a nightmare, watching those kids getting excited. So our supervision is really amped up now, and teachers are in the hallways talking to kids. I had Mr. Davey playing it out one time, hey guys, need to be quieter in the hall, the transitions are working well. Everything's working. I mean, the things we had to fix, we fixed. Lunchroom was a little rough at the beginning. We figured that out time-wise, but it's working great. It's very exciting right now.
What will change when the weather changes and it's snowy and cold?
Right. So we'll let them in. I mean, I'm there, but we're hoping, like I did at Linderman there for a while, we were getting so many kids, and so we kind of get them trained to come in later. We had kids, literally had kids getting dropped off at 6:30 in the morning. Some at 7, and so I'm calling those parents and talking to them and say, why are you doing this? But in all cases we have things, but we're not going to make them stay out there in the cold at all, or rain. But we don't have coverage and we don't have people, and so we've got to figure that out. But we're going to have them come in, and they don't really like going into the lunchroom that much, although they are very social and they do like to chitter chat. But
one other question is, how is now that the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are all mingling within the classes and walking the halls with each other? How is that playing?
it's doing well. Remember, we've got almost 600 kids there,
Yeah.
and next year we'll have more. It'll be more like 620.
I've heard a couple of things.
They are tight.
And I've heard, these big kids kind of make us feel a little bit intimidated.
Well, the 5th grade, there's hardly any time where the 5th grade's at all with them now, whereas last year they were. 6th graders, they're mingling in there, but I'm intimidated walking down the hallway. I mean, literally, it's tough to move in there when you have 600 kids. Well, not really, because we have 450 of them during passing time. Mr. Gustafson jumped out there the other day. He's like, all right, I don't care how old you are, you walk down the right side, no matter where you're going. It's pretty funny. And that actually helped. So we've got some.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
So he can make it.
So we've got to do some training, but you got to remember when all those locker doors open up, you just took another foot plus another human being. That's another foot. It's just tight. It is tight.
I think what you talked about, Shannon, is that the 6th graders feel a little uncomfortable around the 8th graders, the 9th graders feel a little uncomfortable around the 12th graders, the 3rd graders a little uncomfortable around the 5th grader. It's always going to be in that area, but how they treat each other, where everyone belongs and the respect factor, and the teachers are out in the hallway. You can curb some of that.
Yeah.
I think the 6th graders are going to feel a little uncomfortable.
And our 6th graders, though, intimidate the 8th graders. Let's be honest. I mean, that group of kids are tough. They're like, don't mess with us, kind of thing. But they do, and it is kindness is the new cool, and it is true, and we are working really hard to make that happen. So I'm way over.
Thank you.
We're excited. Thank you.
Geez, these guys really showed me up because I think all mine's about myself, really. So,
Well, you're what's new. You're the new.
I was listening to him say something about referrals. I said, poor Jay, he's been working hard. I feel terrible for him. Every 5 seconds he's got somebody in there. So we must have way too much supervision outside or something. So I think the start of the school year has been awesome. I mean, I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to be around kids. I've spent the last 8 days probably getting to know my staff, especially my certified staff. So I've spent probably 15 minutes on their prep periods with them, just talking about things. And also when I meet a student in the hallway, I try to grab them for 5 minutes. Mr. Hamilton, I gotta go. I actually learned more things than I asked the kids. You know, today I had somebody say a comment about Mr. Welts, and they said, it's just a random student. I was asking them how their day was and trying to get to know them a little bit, and they said, we need to start telling kids to drop their cool card. I said, what? I gotta tell them to stop dropping. You gotta drop their cool card. And I go, I have no idea what you're talking about. He says, well, Mr. Welch used to say it all the time. And I said, well, it must be good, so I better call him and find out. So I think I talked a little bit to Jay about it today, and we're gonna try to come up with something to mimic that as well, because I think it's true of our freshmen. Especially, she really talked about the freshman kids and not wanting to participate in things and not be part of things. So I think the dropping the cool card's a great thing. So I'm excited to learn about it, like I do every day. I learn something new every day, not only about staff, but students and paras as well. So that's kind of me. I've been learning a ton, especially in the first 8 days. So I really appreciate Mr. Sampson. He's helped me a ton. Hey, this is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing there. So Debbie, all those guys have really stepped up and helped and lead. And, we changed our whole office staff around. I don't know if you guys have come to our office yet, but Debbie used to be the guidance center. Now she's over back in the other office. So I give Jay a hard time. He was all full of new people. So we had to move Debbie back to him to help him calm everything out a little bit. So I think all of our new hires are doing awesome. I've had nothing but positive comments from our attendance secretary to the new teachers, Donahue and Karen Duvetter, and Ashley. I think they're all doing awesome and they're working hard. For me right now, I'm just getting to know kids as every day, trying to understand where they're at. But for the most part, I think we got some good things going on. The LINK program, I've never seen so many kids so excited to come in on the first day of school as those freshman kids, and some of them were kind of weirded out, but our high school kids, I was trying to get Mr. Welch, I still need that picture to post on our Facebook, but to see some of those kids standing in the bleachers dancing, Mr. Welch said, wow, I've never seen that kid dance before. So I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see those kids step out and be a leader. And we've had lots of positive comments about that, and I guess I learn more and more every day when I talk to Mr. Sawyer and Ms. Sampson, and I think that's a huge program for our school, and I think it's awesome. Another thing we're doing is the Friends Forever Mentoring. I don't know if you know those guys. We partnered with them for a leadership course. We started kind of small with that. We're doing 5 kids right now. They don't have enough staff to do any more, so we're going to partner with them to reach our tough kids, our at-risk type of students, to try to help them be successful, not through high school, but also to see them into college. So we're actually kind of excited about that program. Also our 4-H, Brenda, she's back doing mentoring as well with the elementary schools, and I think they have the plan set up with Rhonda and Kristen, and hopefully it's going well. The first meeting only had about 7 kids, so I asked her how she's going to get more, and she was actually there today recruiting in study halls. So hopefully it works out. We get a few more of those mentors to help out. We did start a Facebook page for our high school. If you haven't liked that, please do. I think Pam she shared it the other day and got like 40 likes for me. I said, wow, that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to highlight academic stuff. I know that we already have a Twitter for our athletics, but I want to highlight a lot of academic stuff we do in our school. I learned a new statistic today when I was talking to teachers that almost 50% of our teachers have a master's degree. I said, wow. I said, and then I think we have 3 right now that are working on a master's degree. So I said, wow, that's awesome. I mean, there's not many schools that have that many teachers with master's degrees. So that's a pretty proud statement of our school and where we are as a staff too. We're working on changing our philosophy on testing. We're going to do ACT Aspire. We moved past Renaissance. I'm competent, and I like the ACT Aspire to get our kids ready for the ACT test as juniors. Our teachers are still a little bit, they're okay with the move, but I think it's going to be something that'll help us and show us some longitudinal data to meet our kids as juniors when they take the ACT test. So Also, our parent meeting, I don't know if we've had one of those before, but our first parent meeting will be next Wednesday. I've had probably 7 parents actually email me back from my letter I sent out. If you're interested in coming, that at 7 a.m. next Wednesday. It's going to kind of be just me. Mrs. Erickson's going to be there kind of as a teacher representative, and I'll send out an agenda at the first meeting. We're just going to get to know each other and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and hopefully there'll be some opinions of parents to say, this is what we're looking for.
Just 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Bring the coffee, Chanel.
Yeah, 7 a.m. I don't have anything else. I know our teachers are working extremely hard. I've been in every classroom. It's the first time in 7 years I can actually tell you truthfully and honestly that I've been in every classroom, at least more than once, some classrooms twice. And I can tell you in 7 years I was at my old school, it was probably once a week I would get into a classroom. So I truly enjoy what I'm doing. Appreciate the honor to be here, and I'm excited about this school year. So,
You also started kicking off a DECA program? Is that?
DECA is going to start within the next couple weeks here. We just got Casey Donahue. She's excited about it. She's working hard to try to start that chapter. She said she has probably 20-some kids already interested, and they will work that hopefully in the mornings. They're going to take over the link. We worked out that today with Mrs. Sampson. We're going to give a proceeds of some of the DECA money to her as a service project for them, so that she's not losing that for the link program. So
something that, just for the trustees to know, something I really wanted a long time is that we've had DPA forever, and DECA is really streamlining more of a kid-friendly, more of a interest-based for students, more so than the DPA. So, and this Donahue has experience in running DECA and DECA programs, student stores, competitions, and so Peters and Jay's pushed that off the ground, and we're starting to run with DECA now.
Sweet. Great.
Good.
Question, what's the difference between the Aspire program for ACT and one prior?
We were using the STAR, STAR reading and math. So this was something that we actually talked about last spring, and I was super happy that Peter was receptive to that, because that was the direction Mr. Wilson and I wanted to go. So all the sophomores and freshmen will take the ACT Aspire during the same periods where we benchmark our K-8 students using STARs.
So no more STAR.
No more STAR for the high school.
It was
one size fits all assessment is K-12. Not that effective. Yeah.
And it leads to our kids taking the ACT, so they take the questions and mimic them like that. Plus, it'll give our teachers instant data, so where our kids are. Hopefully, it's more accurate than the Renaissance.
From a student perspective, ACT Aspire has some street cred. Literally, it's like they practicing for ACT because it means something. I'd ask the kids other than on a STAR as a junior and senior, like, why do we pick it? Someone that's not preparing for anything and don't know what it's about. So it does have validity for a student.
And how will this impact, if at all, current juniors and seniors? They're just going to take their...
Well, all the juniors will take the ACT.
Right. Okay.
Very good. Nice presentation for principals and administration. I have 2 more. Who wants to start?
First of all, my advertisement for Fitness 406. I am on a serious quest to boost my serotonin levels for this week. So these gals here, I was up in my office going, I need to finish this report, I can't come, and they stressed me out, and I went down there and they started me late, let me leave early, and I still got a workout in, so I'm still in my clothes, but it helps. My serotonin levels are higher than normal. And I'm doing yoga once a week. I'm going to keep at it. So there's 13 categories of special education, in case you've never heard them before. Autism, blindness, deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disability, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, specific learning disability, speech and language impairment, traumatic brain injury, and visual impairment. And in this district, we have at least one student in every single category, except we do not have any fully blind students in our district right now, although we do have visual impairment. And we don't really have a student that's only under orthopedic impairment, although we have a student that would probably qualify as multiple disabilities. Our district currently, we hover around 200 students with IEPs in our district. Some of those students are speech and language only, and That's a little bit different in my mind because the articulation part of speech and language is kind of get service, get in, and hopefully get out within a few years and fix those articulation issues. But we have pretty significant language issues in our area, so some of those kids linger in speech and language as either a service added onto their IEP or alone, depending on their needs. If you break it down, there's about 45 kids on IEPs in every school except the middle school has about 60 kids on IEPs. So that's about kind of where we're at. We have a little bit more than 10%, but if I really removed some of the speech and language only and stuff like that, we're in the ballpark of what many districts are, but we do have significant needs in our area for special education that probably is a little bit higher than a typical school district in Montana. We had a great beginning of the year, all due to the teachers collaborating at the end of last year between schools, which is really important so the kids don't get lost or you're not rediscovering what the stuff is that's going on with them, you know, and wasting a lot of time in the beginning of the year. So I really have high accolades for the teachers transitioning kids between schools last year, and we continue to try to get better at that. It's kind of rushed at the end, and we really need even more time to do that. The social networking programs in the middle school, the web and the link that they mentioned, are also incredibly helpful for special education students. Such an important thing, and a big part of what they're doing to make kids feel included has also made kids with pretty significant disabilities feel included more than ever. So those are really important programs for kids. And then, you know, at the high school, that Chris Kelly up there has done more than any teacher I've ever seen for getting general ed kids in there to work right with kids one-on-one with really significant disabilities from the general ed population. She created some really amazing kids who have even thought about going into special education for careers later on. At Cherry Valley, we had 2 teachers move from our community last year, and then we have another teacher that's on extended medical. We lost a couple paraprofessionals from there. So we hired a new teacher, 2 new teachers, and thankfully they both came with some really good experience. One of them's a new to teaching, one of them has experience in teaching, but some good, the new teacher has some good skills there. And so that's Toby Fisher and Sarah Lamphere. And we have a wonderful long-term sub over there who's helped us out a lot in special ed, Patsy Peck, who's currently pursuing her special ed, or no, her teaching credential in a teaching program. We hired a couple new paraprofessionals there. We probably still need to hire 1 more person there. We got those people through over the summer. They were we've struggled with getting enough applicants in for paraprofessionals. This year we do have a few more people in our pool. Right now we're struggling with getting fingerprints back. Tani called this morning on some people we put in a couple of weeks ago, and they said, well, we're a couple months behind. Everybody's on vacation, but we'll get cut up at some point. So I'm not sure when we'll get. We have 4 people on the table we'd like to recommend, but we couldn't bring them to you tonight because their fingerprints aren't back. At Linderman, we had no teacher changes. A couple of paraprofessionals retired or changed positions, and we transferred 1 person from another school into there for a paraprofessional. We're waiting for fingerprints on another one for a position there. We're really tight on space at Linderman, as you know, everybody is. Really, we need 1 more classroom space, but we've shared that classroom space with, in order to get AltaCare in there, we really need AltaCare at Linderman. Probably we could use 2 teams. If we had plenty of space, I would really push for another team, but there's no sense in it because there is just no space whatsoever. But when we get to that point, we may look at another team there. Speaking of AltaCare, we have everybody in place except for 1 BIS, the Behavior Intervention Specialist, which would be like a paraprofessional basically in the AltaCare program. That's another agency that doesn't belong to the school district. They're all owned by Acadia, a for-profit corporation in the end, if you trace it all the way to Kentucky, I think. But they provide our therapeutic services through a law in Montana called CSCT Services. And we have 2 teams at the middle school and 1 team at every other school. And we're going to re-interview for 1 position at the middle school for that behavior intervention specialist that's open. I was sat in on a guy we recommended, but it didn't really work out, so we're going to try again. At the middle school, we have no teacher changes there, but we're in the process of 2 paraprofessional staff hirings. We're waiting for fingerprints to make that recommendation to you guys. And at the high school, we have no teacher changes also. We had a para retire, and we're in the process of waiting for fingerprints on 1 for there. The district as a whole, we hired a school psychologist, Katie Kanipa, whom you met at one of the school board meetings she came and sat in on. She's a new graduate out of Wisconsin, but she's great. She's learning a lot, and she has some really good experience she brought with her, but nothing working full-time in a school district, so lots of learning and training going on there, but she's super. And we have a new speech pathologist that we brought up here from Missoula, Sheena Kerrigan, who's also excellent, and I hope she'll stick around. She's commuting right now, and I keep telling her how easy it would be if she lived here. Our challenges are constantly changing in special education, as you can imagine, but really most of the stuff we see is pretty routine for those of us that have been in special education for a long time. We have a whole new series of forms we're trying to understand and implement that came out of the state at the end of last year that are, really kind of ridiculous, but we're learning to fill them out and add them to the myriad of other forms that we fill out for IEPs in special education. In general, in our community, we've seen an increase in that 3, 4-year-old. When kids hit 3, that's when our responsibility to service them appears. And so we have definitely seen an increase in children in that age level in our community that qualify for that earliest level of special education, which is a broad category called developmental delay that you don't have to really point a finger at exactly what's going on, because it's really hard to tell with 3-year-olds, but they're significantly delayed. So we have a lot of kiddos in there, and that continues to grow through the end of the school year, believe it or not. And we also will be reviewed by the state OPI next year for our paperwork. They come in and they randomly pick at least 2 IEPs from every teacher, and they review the paperwork. They always have findings, so there's no surprise there when you see that report. And then they make you show that you can correct them. And it's just part of their 5-year cycle, and we're up for that again. So, hey, I've stayed on long enough to go through a second cycle now. On 7 years, I outlived the last person. I'm not sure who the person before that was, but I plan on sticking around a little longer, hopefully. On the positive side, we have great special education teachers and paraprofessional staffs in our district. We really do. They handle everything we throw at them, and I tell them because we have to. Children don't disappear. They don't leave. They don't move. We have to handle everything, and that's the way it is. And they do that really well. And I'm grateful to be here and be working with the staff, so thanks.
Thanks, sir.
You can tell I have more service than normal.
Okay, you guys have any questions? Okay, thank you.
And lastly,
Just want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I slipped one of these underneath your folder. I broke this down into professional development and curriculum and instruction. And fortunately, some of what we've talked about already is on my list. Like we talked about at the last board meeting, Rex and I were really hashing that over in August, early August. Wow, Dr. Scott Pollan plus Run Lock Fight, heavy day. Heard quite a few positive comments from staff about Dr. Scott. Unfortunately, we didn't have as good a turnout in the evening as we would have liked. There were 30 parents there. A few staff members too. Kristen was there as a parent. Peter was there for a while. So it was really intimate with the 30 people that did show up. So it was valuable. Run Lock Fight, we talked about that already. Reflex Defend, PMS, PHS this Wednesday. Rubicon Atlas, our online, our curriculum, digital curriculum system. We're going to bring in 2 trainers in January. We're going to break it down so our K-5 staff has 1 trainer for a day and our 6-12 staff has a day. So we did roll that out, kind of a soft rollout is what we said. So a lot of people have been inputting curriculum documents into the system, but we're not using it the right way. So we need, that's on us to get more training. Ed Ready is a math intervention for our high school students. We brought a trainer in, was that last week, Peter? On Wednesday. And the idea there is we're going to have a math lab for our high school students. So anything from pre-algebra to calculus, where the students can get some work on that, boost their skills. ACT Aspire, Mr. Hamilton already addressed that one. Read 180, the reading intervention that we have at Polson High School, Polson Middle School. We're bringing a trainer in to work with our teachers on that system September 19th. Time to Teach. You notice that in Kristen's slideshow the Teach Tubes. So we piggyback with Ronan School District. October 24th, I think, was the all-day training. We had 10 staff members from our district.
August.
Oh, what did I say?
October.
Oh, yeah, August. That's coming up. Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, August 24th. And one person from Cherry Valley, Kristen went, I think 8 or 9, and then 2 from PMS. Talked to Mr. Finkbeiner, Mr. Yarborough. They would like to have this in March, so we're going to bring in someone to train PMS staff, any additional Linderman staff that want to do that. Remember, on our school calendar this year, we have a PIR day in January, and then we have one in March. So January will be Rubicon Atlas, and March will be building site-specific. We also did a substitute teacher training in August at the high school. I don't know if you've heard about it in the community, but it was semi-painful for some of the folks because it was a 3-hour training online. I proctored it and helped people work through it, but it was pretty intense, much more so than anything we've ever done in the past. Last year, when I had this position, I did a 30-minute VHS video that we had for years, and it was fairly dated and not all that great. So this one was rigorous, and we're going to continue with that for any new substitute teachers. Curriculum instruction, one book, one school. We worked with the high school English department over the summer in August, and it's an exciting project. So all the 9th through 11th grade students will be reading Wind in the Enemy Sky. September 24th, I think, is they're having a panel. Some community members come in, and the students will get to have discussions with community members on that. The goal for, one of my goals this year is a K-12 math review for our curriculum. Materials way overdue to get this cycle going, to really examine what we're teaching in every grade level. So we're starting with math. Another thing that I did, we do have 11 new teachers in our district, and we have 7 teachers that have been reassigned. So a lot of the, well, everything that we do online with our instructional materials, our interventions, those people had to be reassigned and put into our system. So that was something that I'm still working on a little bit. Developed the assessment calendar for our district. We created a new position, well, kind of new. Linderman in the past has had a title math person, but we reinstituted that this year with a teacher that was at the middle school for a few years. So Carla Farnstrom is super excited to be working with 3rd and 4th grade math students. She went into every classroom the first few days of school and did number talks with the teachers. So I'm pretty sure the teachers enjoyed it. I haven't talked to too many teachers that Carla's been into, but I know Carla really has enjoyed it. And the last thing on the list is our winter break days. We've created a calendar of events for our students to help support our needy kids that have 2 full weeks off. Maybe no warm food, no activities. So we're going to do December 27th, 28th, and January 3rd and 4th. K-4 students at Cherry Valley, 5-10 students at PMS. And we're going to run that from 9 to 1 p.m. So we're in the process of working through the logistics of that, getting some staff that want to work to be there, math, reading activities, some free read, and then some moving and grooving in the gyms. So that's where we're at there.
Will you feed them?
We will. Yeah. Breakfast and lunch. And we're talking about running a bus up one shore and up the other shore. So actually 2 buses.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Awesome. Make sure.
Couple questions. The math lab. So will that be, will all the students be notified when that is up and running?
I can talk about that. We have one right now. It was kind of just we wanted to see how it was going to work. So we have one right now, and if it takes off, we want to do some in the future as well.
Okay. And when is that available, and what?
During the school day, 7th period right now is when we have our math lab.
Okay.
So the vision is some students assigned, other students drop in, correct?
And this
And
is
they
for-
log into their Ed Ready, and they can work on calculus, or they can work on pre-algebra, whatever their skill set wherever their need is.
And so that's a program that works with them, there's not a teacher in there that's helping, or?
There'll be a teacher in the math lab to proctor it and help the students. Other than it's basically all self-directed learning. They watch videos, it's a Khan Academy. It's actually an amazing program that's free to every Montana resident, thanks to Dennis and Phyllis Washington.
Is that, didn't there used to be a program that you guys used to have when I was at the middle school that they told kids that they had a number and a student they could get on, and there was, is that the?
Yep.
Okay.
But that's gone, right?
Well, I don't know if it's gone at the middle school.
What is it? I thought.
Because Callie used to do
Ed Reddy, I don't know.
No.
Mr. Yarbrough?
I think
Answer
you're
that.
probably thinking of accelerated math, is what Callie's experience was.
But we did it online though at home, and we could go on, and
Right.
she could go on whenever she was having a question in class or answers, and she would do the whole program on, and then somebody would log on with her and work with
Yeah,
her.
that's the Ed Ready Montana.
Okay.
And that's exactly what that is.
Okay. And then my second question is the one book, one school. So we're having 9th graders, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
No, 9 through 11.
Oh.
Grades 9 through 11.
Okay. But they're all having the same subject matter, the same book that they're using, and this is for Indian Ed that they all have to have?
Yeah, it's just something our teachers thought it would be a cool thing to involve our whole school and our community, and it's centered around one book. I thought it was an awesome idea. So all of our teachers are 9 through 11 are teaching The Wind Over Enemy Sky. Our seniors are only doing Neither Wolf Nor Dog as their group, as their book. And this is, we're just kind of piloting to see how it would work for just the whole school, 9 through 12. And we know Wind from Enemy Sky is a little bit harder to read for a lot of 9th graders, but they're taking it really slow. And our English department, I don't know how many of you guys know them, but they probably spent the month of August. I was here by myself and Mr. Sampson. They were here a lot of those days meeting, and you should see the notes upon notes that they came up with for the freshman teacher. Okay, this is how you're going to teach this in this spot. And I mean, I've never seen it so well planned that I think it's really truly going to be an asset. And it's not only going to be for just our English teachers, they're trying to incorporate the science teachers as well to ask them how they can be involved. And there's a lot of teachers and staff in our school reading the book along with them that aren't in the English, so our history teachers are reading the book as well. So
I've heard of this idea before as well. A district near Van Gulch and Gates Mountain of Missouri, they read Young Men Fire, so the 49 incidents. So that entire district read that book, and they used it in their science classes, their math classes, their literature classes, and so it gives one common theme throughout the entire school. And I think this is where the high school is going to get to. Right now, it's just with the English department, but you could wrap in the sciences behind it, and math, and keeping in it. So the social studies.
And it really fits with the drum that we beat many years when I was in the middle schools, we're all teachers of reading, writing, speaking, listening. And so, yeah, you might teach industrial arts, but you're going to take part in this book, one school. So I'm really pleased that the English department took this on, because it's an easy lift for them, but not for the math teacher, not for the the other folks in the building to pick this up and lead it.
It really requires you to do a little bit of critical thinking as a teacher and get creative.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It is. Be good.
A question for Mr. Hamilton. Are you going to open up any other time slots? 7 a.m.'s probably not going to work for everybody on your current needs.
Sure, I'm open for any time. I've always done it at 7 a.m. because...
You go 5 a.m.
I actually can do 5 a.m.
No, that's
just say no.
I think it's a great idea. The more parents that get into our school, and I want anybody who wants to be there, I just threw out 7 a.m. because it works. And I know after schools, a lot of people work till 5 or something like that, but we could do a night one too. I know Peace Schools that have done night parent meetings and PTA meetings and stuff like that. I'd love to see that. Anytime that I could get more parents there, I'm more than willing.
We could even do a second cup night, like I said, 9 o'clock. Or you need to do a working lunch.
Yep.
Some people have a lunch hour, they want to come for an hour.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? I probably need to roll here. Okay, thank you.
Anyway, thank you,
Thank you.
administrators
Thank you.
and directors. I appreciate it. Makes me proud. And honored with you guys, all the work that you're doing. There's a lot of, and trustees, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going
That's
on.
a good peek into what we don't usually get that kind of in the weeds now.
So thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna move to facility projects update.
Al, you want to start? Let's.
Go ahead. You probably want to talk about
Let's start at the end.
Oh, boy. Well,
Get to the conclusion.
start at the top. Been reporting that the seats at the high school were sanctioned up with tariffs. They're on the body of water and they should be in port soon. More to come with that. I know the seat cushions, the seat and the back are in state, and they're just waiting for the metal plates to get here. So we know the story on that. I'll keep you posted. Folsom Middle School roof, that $600 and some odd thousand roof that was put on, desperately needed, is the punch list has been punched. There was a inspector from the fabrication, the membrane. They came out, they need to walk through it, and they had some punch list items as well. And those are just finishing up. We've got a few payments left on it, but for the most part, it's mostly complete. I'll tell you when it is complete. Linderman Gym, the facility is part of that, so we had a really good meeting. In fact, there's a lot of great things that came out of it. I think there's a lot of not understanding, like, what are we going to do? And Tony comes up, and the reason why we meet as a team is we throw out ideas. And Tony's idea, like, we're really not particular about the brick, can we do something different? And that sets the ball in motion. So I was on the phone quite a bit with engineer and our owner's rep today. It looks like they're going to work over either pull all the brick all the way down, or just taking the brick off the top, lessening the weight, and steel fabricate metal studs up in there, lighten it up and stiffen it up, and so we don't have that tabletop, that piece that wants to rotate. So they're working those plans. I've been on the phone with Brad Solon and with Payne West out of Kalispell, and for the last 5 days, 4 of those days, including Saturday, we've been talking, and he's literally lit a fire in a tailpipe and is moving with the Helena office, which is then in correspondence with Diana out of the Travelers, out of her office in Colorado, I believe. And so there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, and really gaining much more support from our local reps from Payne West than we had in the last 6 months, and so I appreciate that. So we talked a lot about our facilities, in our last meeting. Alan, did you have anything else?
Not really. We did mention in our facilities meeting, I'm skipping ahead probably here, the new playground for the pre-K. Should be in soon. From what I understand, all the equipment, new fence, everything. So that'll be good. And that's all paid for by a grant.
Yes.
So that's cool. We did talk about the other big elephant over at Cherry Valley, the dinosaur that's costing us a lot of money. Just to throw it out there so you guys know, on an average cold day during the cold months, it burns about 22.5, 23 gallons of fuel a day. So it's not very efficient, which would really cost about $400 a day just to fuel. So the efficiency, what did we say, 63%? Not very good. So that's just something we've all known about for a long time, but we definitely do something. And we are still looking into alternative heating systems, and really looking towards electric as well, if we do have cheap rates as far as that goes. Fobs, we're looking at getting a few more fobs at the middle school. We've got some doors also on the music room over at Linderman. Just to up security a little bit. We'd love to get more security cameras, of course, but the system's up to date. We just got to get more money to be able to buy those expensive things for everybody. So we'll get there. One day we will. As Rex mentioned, the roof at the middle school is 98%. It's kind of what I figured in that area, so it's just about there. We're talking about getting some solar lights at middle school. Outside the parking lot there. It'd be easier than trying to put wire under the parking lot. So big enough to asphalt, concrete. Let's see. That was pretty close to it. A few things. Yeah, actually, I will bring up the high school. It was mentioned about the security run locks, which we all know. We took that tour here a while back, and people come and go at any time. So just Mr. Hamilton actually brought that up, and that is definitely something that's a huge concern.
It was brought up at the chamber by one of the people in the public.
It's wide open. Anybody can walk in. And especially during this time of year, probably late spring, you're going to see that you've mentioned doors are open. Try to keep it cool in there because it gets hot in those buildings. Anybody can go in there at any time. That's about it.
Good. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
The new playground, what are we using underneath the playground?
I believe it's to be wood chips.
Yep. We just went through that at new school. Wood chips. Last year they wanted certified wood chips. We couldn't get them. We got them last year. You can no longer get certified wood chips. So the only place we could get wood chips was up by St. Regis. I don't know if you guys have already crossed this bridge.
I know Dan was looking at that.
Dan's Giles.
Where I'm going with this is we got talked into using a kind of a hog fuel. It's really soft, spongy stuff. And it came from Hunt's. We got cheap delivery. The problem with it is the kids are getting slippers. So we really want to look into that before you jump. I think we're going to have to go back to sand because the availability of wood chips.
Yeah, let's see places also use rubber.
Yeah.
Tires. But then the possibility of vandalism with that. The districts I'm working for, they like that on fire.
Oh, dear God.
Like
Yeah,
the sand.
so we have to be real careful with what. St. Regis maybe.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, I'll have them.
Rodan just put a bunch of it in too, the same stuff.
From Hunt's?
Yeah.
Probably on the same
For their
playground.
stars playground.
Probably for their stars playground, so.
Yes, you do not want that stuff.
Good to know.
Thank you. Anything else?
I had one other question with facilities and safety along with all of the schools right now. Were we, like, is there like all the doors locked now where we enter and?
No, we need to talk about that.
And that's definitely on the list. I mean, it's just something like I mentioned, we want cameras, we want all kinds of things, they cost a lot of money. So we're looking in to get all that done, and we have a lot of area coverage at our schools that isn't covered by cameras, and it should do it.
Mr. Combine?
One of the things on that line is when we had them come in and look at our doors that are magnetic, they're going away from the magnets and making them electric, so that what happens now is you walk up onto the door from behind the door and locks. So even if it's locked, somebody, if it sees motion, they unlock the door, they're completely open. So instead of doing the magnetics, they're going to these electronic locks that they're replacing. I asked how much more is that. He said it was not much more at all. It's about $1,000 a door to put a fob in with the magnetic lock. And so we're looking, instead of doing the magnetics on what we have, they're going to give us a little rundown and getting the electronic ones. The nice thing about that, if we can get them all replaced, I asked him what's the upgrade. He said it's hardly anything at all, but you can do it from your cell phone. I can lock the building down with the touch of a button too, as well. So
Adam, you want to share just briefly your walkthrough with security and in fact what we talked about, the magnetics? I'll put you on the spot.
Just in terms of kind of what's out there. Yeah. So we've kind of been keeping an eye on what sort of the latest and greatest technologies are that we can help use, keep our students safe, and I guess maybe the big thing that I've been going back on is all these systems are interdependent now, and so your cameras and your building access can interact with each other, so that way you can see who's coming and going, who fobs into a door and things like that. So whenever we're building these systems, the vendors I've been bringing into Rex, it's just been trying to get people who are going to build a system that all kind of works together and all the pieces fit, so that we don't have a separate door system and a separate camera system, and so whatever system we bring in, our door locks can be triggered remotely based on someone looking at a camera, or if there's an incident where someone came in using someone else's door access or their code, we can see what happened. And then even some of the new features on the cameras are really neat, where we can get alerted to when someone who's not supposed to be on campus, say a student's been expelled or something like that, they can actually recognize when they're on our cameras. So there's a lot of neat stuff, and the cool thing is it's coming down in price, and there's a lot of districts in Montana that are already installing these systems. So we've kind of had some initial talks seeing what that would look like in Polson, and what the costs are, and what it would take to retrofit our buildings with that type of technology.
Great. Some of the good work that Adam and Carl had put together is that we have a foundation now. The structures there. Now we start hanging pieces off. Just Adam walked a vendor through and just pinpointed some of our concerns. When you walk by most of our doors, because of fire code, you can't lock people in buildings, and so you have to exit the building, and that's why it's motion detected. So it's locked from the outside unless it's passing hour, and then all the kids walk by the doors and they open up. We know that's a problem. We also know it's a problem if kids are very nice kids, and then when they see an adult banging on the door, they usually open it up because they want to let somebody in. That's the kind of kids that we raise. And so we have to teach kids different, and that they can go around. It's okay to say no. And we've got to develop a system that doesn't open automatically when you walk by it. And that's some of the work that Adam's working right now as IT director. So it's on our radar.
Yeah. One question that I got, which I didn't have an answer for, is there a way that now we're wearing name badges? Is there a way to have our fob system built into the name badge, like you see in the movies?
Yes.
That would be.
That's kind of the plan.
We have
I think we can have a centralized point of access from everything, from printing to getting into the building. We can kind of control everything and kind of keep an eye on what people's actions are. And we have the infrastructure in place now to support all these new systems. We have secure locations to keep the DVRs and things like that. They're not just stuck in the closet at Linderman where anyone could go and pull them. So we've got good places to run these equipment and the network to support it.
So there's a lot of work on that.
I'd be interested to see a cost, at one point here, so we can look at it for possibly getting done soon.
And we are working with the vendor to kind of get at least some estimates to bring to you guys, so you can kind of see what a ballpark cost would be and do some planning for that.
Steve LaRue's plans in that 50-some odd million is that upgrade in there as well.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we're gonna move along here.
Okay.
Indian education, I don't think they're here.
No, he's not.
Okay, you already talked about facilities. Policy committee. Jersey? Or did not?
You're going to, we have, we've got some on the burner now.
Okay. Budget committee did not meet. Negotiations, you'll see the contracts here coming up, but there was nothing. I don't think the Class A caucus is going.
Nope.
Did you have a transportation meeting?
Nope.
Superintendent evaluation, no. Calendar committee?
No.
When does that maybe start?
It doesn't it?
I know. When does that start, Rebecca?
Usually right there.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
That was pretty.
Okay, budget report.
Thank you, Michelle. I included a list of the high claims this last month in August. It actually looks on paper quieter than it was. We have a lot of things going in, as you know, with all the new staff. There's a lot of forms, a lot of getting people on the programs, the benefits, the insurance, and a lot of that going on. Besides all the numbers in the budget and the payroll. But looking at where we're at for the beginning of the year, we're pretty similar to on track as last year. 6.3 for the elementary compared to 6% spent last year, so that's real close. The high school is a little higher, and the only thing that I saw that maybe put that up just a bit was that we did purchase some tech items there. and some supplies actually in the athletic department. So some of those things, but it's still right on track. Deb also included the credit card statement with those expenditures, which also looks less. As I said, she's going to be submitting a big bill to me in September, as well as our first payroll getting printed out. So September is very busy. It can get busier than August. It always does.
Are there any questions on the communication? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along, consent agenda. Any questions, comments, something that needs to be removed, changed? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Okay, first and second, any other follow-up questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number new business. Recommendation to approve admittance of students with exceptional circumstances. Mr. Welch.
Maybe you or Carl. The, under policy 3100, the 4-year-old students with special circumstances, it's the policy that we passed several years ago. It allows us to bring in students at the age of 4 or more. We just ask that you see the list if it's attached to that. Yes, 13 students there. I ask that you approve the list as submitted.
Okay. Any questions or comments from Mr. Welch? Public? Okay, ready to entertain a motion? Second. First and second, any other follow-up? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 12. Recommendation to ratify a tentative agreement with the PEA. Mr. Welch.
I'll call upon Mr. Crosby.
Okay.
Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Probably the easiest and quickest negotiations that I've ever been part of, and I know that Carolyn and Carol too. There was a lot of back work had gone into that already. I think that made it. And I just wanted to recognize Mr. Wells for his agreement to go ahead and take out the extra duty stipends materials. That's where most of the work actually happened. We had numerous 7 a.m. meetings throughout the winter and the spring to really take a look and dig into that whole stipend extra duty schedule. Basically, we did a whole bunch of research, finding out where our amounts came from. There was a lot of discrepancies in our old structure. We took all of the Class A schools in Montana, looked at our percents and averages, and we moved everybody up to at least 100% of what that research told us. We also added a couple of new positions there. We changed some positions, we changed some coaching. Instead of having a head coach in one situation, we're having just regular coaches in that situation. So there was a lot of work went into that particular piece of the negotiations, which was really not part of the negotiation piece, but because Mr. Welts agreed to let us do that beforehand, it made negotiations a lot easier. So we were very happy with the outcome. I've had a lot of positive comments. We did hold a ratification vote between our PEA members. I think I have around about 123 right now. I had 2 folks that said no. Everybody else it was very happy with. So.
Good. The stipend is part of the CPA, and so there's been times that the stipend review has been part of the collective bargaining, and it's just muddied the waters to the point where they could move forward. And quite frankly, there were some employees that still have a bitter taste about how that took place. There's hidden agendas and things are going on, so it just made sense for us not to muddy the waters in negotiations and just do the work behind the scenes and then bring it to us as a committee after the work has been done. So a lot of work from Mr. Crosby and researching all the districts in our state to get the averages so that we can make informed decisions. I will tell you, 7 years ago when I showed up at Fulton District, many teachers would say the biggest inequity in this district is the stipends. And I feel like we've addressed those misunderstandings in what we found on a lot of our.
Yeah. It's really hard to quantify, and unless you've actually walked in the shoes of that person doing that coaching position, you really can't comment because you don't know what's involved.
Right.
But people have perceptions of what that job is like, and so to try and take it away from that, that's where we started to do some of the math, and that really helps.
Doug and I were talking this morning. I think that we gained a lot of trust and transparency between the district and teachers. It's just I think it helped.
Yeah, and I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it ever will be, because the situation has changed. The number of kids that show up for a particular athletic competition, whatever, is going to be a revolving door. So
our hope is that we continue the conversations and not let it last another 15 years before we look at it again.
And from the point of view of the negotiations process, I would like to just, absolutely reaffirm everything you just said by taking out that kind of conversation and keeping the conversation about the contract, about just those very objective things about, salary and benefits, and so that we can just talk about the numbers and the budget, just makes everything so much easier. So it's not about that other things about agendas and things. It just makes it so much easier. So we can keep, we can just open up the books and go, this is what we have, and develop that trust over time. It was so much easier, and I really appreciate that. And that allowed you to go and do that hard work and what you did with the stipend. I really appreciated that. So from that point of view, yeah, it was, having served on the negotiation committee for the last few years, yeah, it was a pleasure.
So what we're asking is trustee to approve the agreement as moved.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, entertain a moment.
I'm going to approve this minute.
I second. Okay. All in favor? Good.
Wish I had a little popper or something.
Okay. Recommendation to ratify the tentative agreement with the PCEA.
Very similar experience. This a little later in the season of negotiations, that we were running through this one through the summer, as advised from Carla HR. That's not uncommon to work through the summer on negotiations. So again, Mr. Walsh, Richard Walsh, and his crew, very professional, easy to work with, cordial, and real positive. So it was a good experience. Again, Richard, if you wouldn't.
Yeah, sure.
Mind?
It was my first time doing the bargaining, and it was wonderful to work with the district and Chanel and Mr. Wells. It was positive. We probably met at least 3 or 4 times face to face, but there was a lot of email going back and forth as well. And we also had ratified the agreement with our members, and it was only a few also that voted against, but overwhelming majority voted for the agreement. And I think we all felt on both sides, that we worked well together and that we came to an agreement that we can all feel very proud of. So the process worked.
Yeah. So I would ask that approve the agreement as submitted for TCEA.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, any motion? Second. Okay, first and second, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Again.
Thank you, both of you.
Okay, recommendation to approve the wage increase for non-represented employees. Mr. Wells?
Is that 15? It's 14.
I'm 14.
No, there we go. How we do business, the non-rep employee group non-represented employee group is, usually follows in what I'd like to do with them is that as to the teachers or the classified union will just roll that same concept, same strategy with the non-reps. And so you'll see here it's 3.5%, and I ask that you approve the agreement or this memo as submitted.
Okay, any questions or comments? Any questions or comments from you guys? No? Okay, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. First and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Recommendation to approve resolution of surplus sale. Mrs. Clary.
It's that time of year again when Dan's collecting things that maybe they don't want or don't need or outdated, actually. And it does include perhaps a vehicle. And so they, I think it's from West Farm, the van.
One of those push, pull, or drag things.
So there is a copy of the resolution if you would like to read it, Madam Chair, or would you like me to? Me? Okay. Whereas the school district number 23, Lake County, Folsom, state of Montana, presently owns personal property which is unsuitable for the school purposes of the district, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees intend to dispose of said property in compliance with the provisions of the 20-6-604 Montana Code annotated, and be it resolved that any money realized from the disposal of property will become a part of the district general fund or other appropriate fund at the direction of the trustees as provided in 20-6-606 Montana Code annotated.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
I move that we approve said resolution.
Second. All right. First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right. Recommendation to approve the personnel report. Mr. Elliott.
First of all, I want to thank you for allowing us to add an item to that special board meeting to get people on last week, or was it last week or the week before? And, just keep in mind we may be asking for that again to do a conference call because we have so many background checks that we're waiting on that it's making supervisors uncomfortable. So just be aware that that could be coming down that pipe. We have a relatively short personnel report this month because of that backlog. And we have one for both high school and elementary district. And I would ask that you would approve them as submitted unless you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, any questions or comments? No? Okay, I'd entertain a motion for the personnel report for the high school district.
I move that we accept the high school district personnel report as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, recommendation to approve the personnel report for the elementary school district. Any questions or comments on that one? Okay, all in favor? Or I mean, I guess I need a motion. Sorry.
I move to approve the elementary. Second.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Recommendation to approve out-of-district report. Mr. Buck.
We'll start with the elementary. Ask that you approve the submitted recommendation for the elementary out-of-district report. There's 2 students there.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a question.
Yes. I have a question.
Just Cherry Valley's full, how can we approve one extra person to kindergarten?
There was an extenuating circumstance on that one. I'm trying to remember what it was. I believe that the whole, like, multiple, if it's a family that has multiple children in the district, that it would have created a hardship to not do that. I believe that one was.
Okay. Thank you. Correct. All those in full district, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Second, high school.
High school.
I ask that you approve the out-of-district report for the high school as submitted.
Second. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, do we have any other things to discuss tonight? I was thinking we were going to have
One other report.
Okay, everything else. Okay.
First, did you feel one longer?
3:53, I should have chosen a longer song.
Okay, we're going to bring you. Thank you.
Okay, I could not tell you how much better that was. Yeah, I thought that was much better. Yeah, thanks. Is it first show? Do we have to like, we actually like stand up for that? Like, how does that? Do I need to like wrestle someone? Whatever I need to do.
Who is slow moving? Did you get on it? I did. On the golf course again?
We're all good then, whoever went the longest has to buy the round tonight, so we're lost.
That's my
Just bring a cot to this place.
I'll be there with you.